So that's your comment.
Blow it out.
Last year's gas.
Let's do it. Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting of the Economic and Physical Development Committee to order. I would like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'd all rise. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Third order of business is an opportunity for public comments. I do have one card here. Mr. and Mrs. Sean and Heidi Stout.
Correct.
Yes, if you'd like to stand.
Actually, we're on the schedule.
Oh.
We just gave you that ahead of time. For the shift shop, we should be on the agenda.
Regarding the rezoning.
Correct.
Yeah, I remember seeing you at Perry Township, so, okay, if we have any questions, we can refer to them at that time. This is our first business item today, item number 4. I'd accept a motion to consider amending the Shiawassee County zoning map for property located in section 17 of Perry Township, parcel ID 014-170-200-023-01, from A2 agricultural production / rural residential to B3 highway service, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Make that motion.
Okay. Your support? I'll support the motion. Discussion. I have been, I guess, well, just quickly, I did attend a meeting of the Perry Township Board. It must have been about 8 weeks ago now, where the applicants appeared before them discussing this issues. I know it's been an involved process, and obviously it's been recommended, it sounds like, by the Perry Township Planning Commission, as well as the board, as well as the County Planning Commission. I suspect that any opportunity for public comment has occurred. The one question I guess I do have is, what was the extent of public comment that was given during this rezoning request? And has that been satisfied, or has that been, attained to the satisfaction of our zoning director at the county level? So I don't know, Peter, maybe you can address that just briefly for us?
Sure, and the Scouts are very familiar with our process, and that's why we received a sheet beforehand. They've been before the County Planning Commission a number of times trying to get this particular project as well as other projects in the past through. This is a straight rezoning. Everyone within 300 feet of their property or their future property was notified. We received very minimal public comment from any neighbors and such. We did receive from Perry Township Planning Commission and Township Board a recommendation to approve. This was formerly a wrecker service by special land use. However, that special land use, after it was not used for a certain period of time, expired. Therefore, the Stouts would need to go through the rezoning process in order to do their transmission repair facility. And after this rezoning, they have to come back before the County Planning Commission and get a special land use permit. But they've worked well with us, not only on this property, but in past properties, and all advertisements were proper, and we just didn't receive any public comment.
Okay. Do you happen to know the last update to the Perry Township Comprehensive Development Plan, Pete? Have they undergone that planning exercise recently?
I'm not sure if recently or not.
I just wondered if they had contemplated or envisioned a zoning change in this area, during that last update.
I would imagine it was very similar to the counties, which would have put this on a colored map outside of the box that said this is where commercial goes. And that's where the County Planning Commission and also the Township Planning Commission had to take into consideration that this was a facility that was previously permitted, and there were other districts and uses of a similar nature in the area. So we drew outside the box a little bit based on I guess, reasonableness of the request.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any additional comments or questions. Any commissioners? Okay.
How many years have you guys been in business?
11 years,
11 years. How many employees do you have?
5 total, well, 4 total, yeah.
I think it would be in the best interest of this board and the county to help them all we can to keep business going, so.
Well, yeah, I appreciate the public comment period, and it's not just about the business. I think as the zoning director points out, it's about the reasonableness of the request, that it's in harmony with the surrounding area. It's not just invite business at all costs. So I think this request certainly meets that standard, so I would support that. Okay, we have a motion and support. Any remaining comments or questions? Okay, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for appearing before us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One step closer, it sounds like.
Thank you.
Thank
But we're not there yet. Okay, item number 5, I accept a motion to consider authorizing release of the lien upon payment in full and mortgage discharge from the rehabilitation improvements on the property located 1403 Melinda Avenue in Owasso, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Support that.
Okay. You make the motion, is there
Make
support?
the motion. You gonna make the motion?
I make the motion.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any comments or questions? This to me appears to be one of the routine requests we have of this nature once a property reaches a certain status. So, okay, we have a motion and support. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 6. This is an informational item regarding medical marijuana language review. I suppose, Pete, you'll be updating the committee on that?
I can tackle this one. A few years back, the county did amend its zoning ordinance to allow for medical marijuana for, I can't remember their names now, it's always on the tip of my tongue. The folks that are caregivers, patient caregivers, to have by home occupation at their homes the ability to dispense to their 5 caregivers medical marijuana. We have had absolutely no one ask for that home occupation, primarily because this is a state issue and a state law issue. Well, the legislature has changed the rule. And so what they have now is they have essentially 5 different categories of uses for medical marijuana. They have growers, processors, provisioning centers, essentially dispensaries selling it, secure transporters, and safety compliance facilities. So what the state is essentially saying that if a community wishes to create a licensing operation or licensing provisions, they can do it on these 5 particular uses. Now, Shiawassee County can act as a licensure of it. We would have to change our zoning after you work on it. This has been provided to the Planning Commission. We've discussed it at rewrite committee, but it is mostly a legislative action by this board. If you choose not to act, then these facilities are prohibited in your zoning jurisdiction. Communities like the city of Owasso, Corona, the charter townships, they can do their own licensing. So if you choose to license these, and I'm going to say at this point this is out of our realm in our office for licensing, you would need to contact your attorney. So I'm giving you this update to tell you what's available. If you choose not to act, again, these facilities will not be permitted. Usually the legislature puts something in there that you're forced to act. You either declare that you don't want them, and so this goes outside of normal zoning, whereas you have to account for every reasonable use. This gives you the specific ability to license or not license these facilities. Now, the benefits for you to have a license, I guess benefits, would be that there is a $5,000 maximum annual fee that can be imposed by the county. And there is an entitlement of the 25% of the tax revenue gained from a registered facility. I don't know how that works, and so that's why you're going to have to rely on legal counsel to look into that. But essentially the growing operation, the processing operation, dispensaries, transportation, and safety compliance facilities. that's where we're at. I imagine we can have more conversation about it, but I wanted to give you an update. We do need to conclude this by December of this year.
Thanks for bringing that up. In fact, I highlighted this $5,000 fee and the 25% of tax revenue. I was going to ask you how that works, Pete.
I'm not sure yet. I don't think anyone knows. There's a few communities, and we can do our best at essentially borrowing from others as to those that have already adopted licensing facilities. But I think it'd be responsible for the county to get their legal counsel involved to develop that, because this is something you don't want somebody from zoning to be doing licensing. But you need to decide what you think is proper in the county. And a lot of communities have allowed some of the others, the larger communities with agricultural areas and large open spaces, have allowed the growing, the processing, the transportation, and then look at safety compliance facilities in industrial parks or office parks. A lot of the provisioning centers or dispensaries are appearing in small villages, cities, and bigger cities as well. So I don't know if you necessarily want to put that on us, because we already have enough trouble with rezonings and such, and our land use plans, that might be one that might be hard, because it could be a confrontational issue.
Okay, just so I understand, it also says in here, primary caregivers are permitted by right currently in any district as long as the standards of section 5.3.2E are met.
Right, with the home occupation permit, yes.
With the home occupation permit. So we're talking about going above and beyond that conceivably.
Right, oh, absolutely. Right, and a patient is allowed a caregiver is allowed 5 patients, and a caregiver can't have more than what they call a Michigan pound, which was 13 ounces on them at any one time. This is making it a big operation. As you know, I think on the ballot this coming up in November may be the recreational use of marijuana, so
Okay.
it is what it is.
So even though this is information, I sense perhaps a recommendation that we take up a request to legal counsel to further analyze this and bring it back for future consideration.
I would be very open to that now. I wanted to introduce it, but if you want to get it moving, that would be the proper step, I believe.
Okay. Thank you. Let me open it up to the commissioner, see if there's
Some questions.
Commissioner McMaster.
Do you know of anybody, have you heard of anybody that's planning a processing, if it's not a little growing facility, but an actual processing facility here
You mean in our community?
in our county?
No. Do I know of some that may be acting illegally? They may be, but I'm not going knocking on the door. So, my understanding is that law enforcement is aware of those facilities. But again, back when we amended the ordinance, we only allowed for caregivers. And at that time, the prosecutor's office was involved as well, providing us some counsel. We chose not to go the next step for dispensaries and those kind of things. So some people kind of slid in underneath the wire of that and just never followed through on, or it was not an issue. They met state law.
I guess I would add on the processing side of this, I mean, we're all thinking of small amounts that, the caregivers are given, and, these medical patients are using it. The processing thing is, I mean, there's conferences going on every month in Michigan. You're talking very large facilities, you're talking farmers growing hemp, kind of a lower grade hemp, storage facilities which you can store it for quite a while, and they're squeezing it down, getting the oil out of it, which they're then used in the edible stuff. And then the remnants of the hemp is then used for agriculture, fodder, feed and stuff. So I mean, I know on the thumb, this is a strong possibility. So we might want to look at that. And figuring out if we're going to allow the large processing facilities. It may happen, it may not. It may happen, it may not happen, depending. I mean, even if this law is passed or it isn't passed on the ballot, could still happen. So.
Well, there's clearly could be, financial implications of allowing for these types of, entities to exist. But I guess it sounds like we need more information regardless.
I mean, it's a whole nother level compared to the small little dispensaries we see all over. I mean, this actually becomes an agricultural commodity, and instead of a grain mill, you have a hemp mill that's storing the product. And we're talking like loads and semi-loads that are processing
product for the oil. So, that's,
Other questions, comments? So just so I'm clear, Pete, current zoning laws, then this is not considered exclusionary if we don't allow for it, like sexually oriented businesses or trailer. They have to be allowed for it, but this does not fit in that category. So if we do nothing, nothing happens basically.
Correct.
Except currently what we have.
And I think currently what we have would go by the wayside as well. It has to fall into these one categories.
Can you help me just a little bit with the specific language that we'd be asking our attorney for feedback on, just so we're clear in the direction to them?
I guess what I would first ask legal counsel would be what would be the process of adopting a licensing program for medical marijuana. That way, I think that it would give you the process, and then it would give you the ability to line item what you wanted. If you didn't want dispensaries for sales, then that one could be out. If you didn't want the secure transporters, then that one could be lined out. So I think just asking first what the process for licensing would be an appropriate first step. Once you folks decide on the licensing part of it and any conditions or standards that you're allowed by law, then that's when we would step in on the zoning side to make accommodations under those licenses.
So we can do this in an incremental manner, then start with the process, better understanding the process of licensing. Is there a comment or a question? Is there a comment or question?
without further examination, it's my understanding, it's not a county decision. It's a individual township and city undertaking to license them, or not. They don't do anything, and they don't get up there.
But we don't have township zoning throughout Shiawassee County, only a
This is
handful.
not a zoning act. This is the Facilities Licensing Act.
Right, and if that's what I mean, we read municipality as
It doesn't
also
take zoning, it
county.
takes an authorization. It's
So a township board then would have the
township board or
legal
city or individual. I don't, without further examination, I don't want to get into it, but that was put out by some that it depends on the individual townships and the cities. They can pass it, they can create an ordinance to allow for whatever they want to allow, and the licensing fees and stuff would go to them and follow that. If they don't do anything, then it's not allowed in that municipality.
Right.
So that might be a very simple response from legal counsel.
Right.
My concern is if individual townships do enact a licensing, then we will have to accommodate under zoning in some manner. So it may be a real easy question. I was not aware of that. So
Okay,
if
so
that's
we
the
would be
case-
seeking confirmation on that. This is just a preliminary.
Yeah, it's not a formal,
Yeah.
but my understanding is, it's not a zoning act, it's a.
Right, no,
it's
I
a
understand that too.
Licensing act.
Yeah, I was under the impression that the county would also have that, and we read municipality in probably the wrong regard, so.
That's what the
Either-
clarification would help us better understand.
Absolutely,
So-
absolutely.
Yeah, it really doesn't take zoning, it's an agricultural product.
I don't think it's defined necessarily as an agricultural product for the transportation facilities.
No,
and such
for the
that
processing,
township-
I mean, that's.
Right, but again, we'll have to watch if it is a township issue, then we'll have to accommodate somehow under zoning as well, if it doesn't generically fall someplace. So again, this is an introduction information only, and I appreciate the feedback. We may have a very easy response.
Good. Well, I would like to have it for the record. So given the discussion, I would go ahead and make a motion to recommend that the commission seek a legal opinion on the process, better understanding the process of licensing, adopting a regulatory program in Shiawassee County, as discussed here today.
I'll second that.
Any further comments or questions? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Pete, for bringing that to our attention. I think it's helpful to move this forward and get some better information. Item number 7 is also information-only item. Turn back to planning director. Is that-
Thank you. This is the Form 4046. It's essentially reporting of taxable value to the State Tax Commission. And you saw this in various forms on the 4029. It's just, it's requested that we provide it to you. It's only a form, though, that the equalization director needs to provide. And, and again, we ended up with $1,728,820,374 in total real and personal property taxable valuations. So against your millage, that's approximately 9.6 million. And that's minus capture and other exemptions that may come along.
It's hard without having a baseline to know what that means. Can you compare that to last year? The number is an increase, a percentage increase?
I had that at last meeting, and I can't recall what we discussed, or was it the meeting before? I can regurgitate that information for you by Wednesday.
I was going to say, we saw this a couple months ago,
Right,
right?
and that's sometimes the process. We have to show it to you 3 or 4 times before we finally submit information. But I can grab
Okay.
that and provide it back.
Yeah, I thought it
on
looked
Wednesday.
familiar, so yeah, forgive me if I ask the same
No.
question again.
Has there been somebody out from the state or anything doing assessing or that you know of?
The State Tax Commission may have individuals as part of the AMAR assessment. It's essentially a review of the assessor by the State Tax Commission. We do have field staff out as well. Our folks do have badges on, and we do send letters in advance of going out.
Because there's been people in our neighborhood that have been pulling in driveways and it looks like they're assessing or looking and taking pictures and stuff like that. So,
Any of our folks would get out with a measuring wheel. Well, first thing they do is go up to the door, knock, and get permission to be on the site. And then they have a measuring wheel, a safety vest, and a large picture of them and a statement that they're there for assessing purposes. So it could be the State Tax Commission, it could be the local assessor getting some field work done and hiring individuals that are not them.
You would think they would announce themselves.
They need to. That's the first thing we do is make a beeline for the door. We do not take any pictures. We do not do anything until we first get permission. Again, we provide a letter 2 weeks in advance. If no one's home, we continue to measure with the implied that we have permission. They never got a hold of us. If we knock on the door and someone tells us to go away, we go away.
Any additional questions? Comments? All right. Thank you. Looks like item 8 is also an informational item, review of the Solid Waste Commission's role in waste management fund expenditure.
Unfortunately, Mr. Rick Crawford could not be here today. He just notified our office before I came down. He will be at Wednesday's meeting. Hopefully you received this that Patty put together concerning the expenditures and such. What Mr. Crawford would like to talk about is the solid waste councils. They would like to be involved in the expenditure of waste management funds and revert back to a process to where they make recommendations to the Board of Commissioners prior to expending those funds. They want to make sure that waste management gets all the proper notification up front, what's happening with their money, and all the accolades for what's happening with their money so they can continue to be good partners.
Is this that 75,000?
Yes.
That's, okay.
And that's how it was at one time, so I don't know where we got off track on that, because just a couple of years ago, before it was brought to this board, it came as recommendations from the solid waste committee, so I don't know where we lost that.
And Mr. Crawford's going to come and respectfully, I think, ask if the Board of Commissioners would allow them to possibly, make recommendations for 2 or 3 year cycle, because I think some of the concern and maybe where things changed was there was a need for immediate money and funds, and some of the areas where funds were spent. Not only that, but that programming need to take place a year in advance, such as with the health department, so they didn't get the money right before they had to do a collection of that they know it would be there for the next subsequent years. So
And what is that money used for right now? We have recycling day, right?
well, that money is funded. The health department is funded in order to do those events through this funding source. There's been other money that's been attributed to some of the parks repair in Chi-Town and stuff. And I think that's one of the things that the at least the Solid Waste Council was not immediately aware of, or I don't think made a recommendation on that. They made some recommendations concerning a recycling pad and those kind of things, and for soil conservation and such.
The recycling pad went in at the Morris transfer station. We gave money to the city of Lanesburg for a tire cleanup. Some of them things I did think were questionable too at the time, but they were passed by a previous board. And I would highly suggest that we work well with these guys, because John Gull, there's some people on that board that have direct influence of us getting or not getting that money. And I think it would be in our best interest to keep them happy and work with them to some extent.
I would echo Commissioner Bartz's comments, and I am a member of that committee representing the commission, and we talked at length about the process and how we kind of got off track, and I sensed a strong desire to be able to help recommend the projects that are funded through there. And just by way of background, the primary purpose of the Solid Waste Planning Committee is to develop a county's solid waste management plan, which exists, and update it very infrequently. So other than this sole responsibility, they're not really doing anything. There's, I think, 12 members. And so if they weren't going to continue to be given that opportunity, I think we'd recommend disbanding or mothballing the group, because until the county's solid waste management plan required an update. And so I don't know when that might be.
I'm not sure offhand, but they're a very thoughtful, intelligent group of people. We were not getting quorums for years until this actual issue of possibly losing the waste management funds came up, and they dug in, developed a process with me on how to recommend things, and since then we've had a quorum every time. So I'd hate to lose that kind of activity in the county dedicated to it.
Well, as early as 4 years ago, they were talking about taking that money away from us, and I stepped up and went there a little bit, because that money was just going into the general fund and wasn't being used for anything to make this county green. And they were really disappointed in that, so we made a big step at that point.
So which question
Yeah,
should
how
I
we've gotten off on it.
Yes. Yeah, the chair will be here Wednesday to fill in any additional blanks.
But we need to work with them and keep that money coming.
Because they don't have to give us, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't have to give us the amount that we're getting right now, correct?
No, they were under a 20-year contract to give us money for licensing and fees that took place 20-some years ago, but that contract has expired. So we're at just goodwill of them still giving us that money. They are not legally obligated to do that anymore. And so we need to work well with them to ensure that we continue to receive that money, because that money has went to some very worthwhile causes to keep this community, county green. We do not want to lose that.
Okay, any other comments or questions on this subject? We'll just wait to hear from the chair on Wednesday. Now, I know we've got item number 10 is your monthly development report. There's one in between there. Do you want to, while you're up, go ahead and we'll just skip and then come back to item number 9, if there's no objection to that?
Sure, I do not have too much to report. 29 building permits, 27 zoning permits, and zoning enforcement, we had 79 issues. You're going to see that number lower. In the future, we're revamping our process right now on our priority system. I feel that with these kind of numbers, we're not seeing the effectiveness that we've seen over the past couple of years, and I think that we need to pull back a little bit and do a little more focus instead of just keeping numbers up high on enforcement. We need to conclude. I think we need to make our marker that we need to conclude and have finished these zoning violations instead of just constant activity on them. So that number will drop in the foreseeable future. Otherwise, we have ZBA Wednesday night. We have another ZBA the following Wednesday night, which will be a special meeting for the Pro-Lime issue, and then our normal planning commission meeting, the fourth Wednesday. Yes.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
When I was at a Capital Area Community Services Board meeting in Lansing, they were showing growth, population growth, all the counties, and they're broken down by communities. And I know our county has been trending downward, but recently there's been a little uptick. And there was this chart that identified Morris as this big growth area. Is there like an apartment complex that's gone in over there, or some new housing development that's causing the
the uptick in population?
Not necessarily, I'd have to see the numbers. You know, it could simply be that in the state sale, somebody had rural residential type property and did a number of splits. No, we do not have any large development there. And sometimes those numbers get skewed, especially when they do the modeling, where that could be coming from, whether it was by zip code or whether it was by the village or Morris. It could be a number of things. It could even be the mobile home park, having more sites occupied than not. Or it could be a mobile home park or something finally started reporting numbers before they were zero. I've seen half a dozen anomalies.
It just stuck out. It just stuck out that all of a sudden Morris is like the epicenter of growth. And then I got a call from Argus, who was doing an article a couple of days ago about growth in the county and how we're on the uptick.
Well, we can provide you, and I could possibly have by Wednesday's meeting where we are revenue and building permit wise, because we're continuing to see a very steady growth here. We're seeing a lot of variance requests for older properties being rehabbed and wanting to have additions put on them, and they're needing to get variances and stuff. So we're hopping in the office.
Yeah, if we could just back up to your update on the zoning enforcement items. I think you said 70 some. Those carry forward from month to month, and they're always reported as those that are active. And you're going to be trying to focus and bring them to conclusion and reduce that number.
Those aren't the ones that are active. When I first came to Shiawassee County, we had over 600 active zoning violations. And what was happening is every other month, the people would be sent a letter, and there really was no activity on that. So we came up with a priority system. With 4 being a priority, or 1 being a priority, and then we really put our resources there and try to get them through the prosecutorial process, and then 4s being those people that we check up on. And I just feel like I feel like we're not being as efficient. We have high numbers that we're getting out there, but I'm not seeing a lot of things finalized out. I'm not seeing a lot of prosecutions or getting to that point. I see some of my staff doing is maybe having a large workload and not being able to complete that final step of being able to give the judge a proper statement of this is in violation, this needs to be corrected. So we're working on that, but you may see the numbers drop. I just wanted to forewarn you, didn't want you to see it and say, what's happening here? I just got to come up now with a system of showing where our inefficiencies are and then providing new benchmarks for success on it.
Triage them a little bit. Yeah, okay, that makes good sense. Thank you. Any other comments or questions, Mr. Preston?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if you could back up to item number 9. This is, I guess, for information only at this point. It's proposed appointments process. I think I own this one. And let me just back up for those in attendance or haven't been following the issue. When several of us were first elected this year, including myself, and we're on a learning curve trying to figure out policies and procedures in place in a number of areas and how the county transacts business. It occurred that there was really no formal process for making appointments to the numerous boards and committees that fall under the purview of the county commission. I think there's 25 plus or minus here. And so I thought it would be prudent and good governance practice to put in place some at least rudimentary process for soliciting names, publicly noticing a request to fill these vacancies, and again, somewhat streamlined process for reviewing names and making those appointments by the commission to really fully discharge the responsibilities we have here as a commission body. So what I did is spent the last month assembling this document which lays out a proposed process, I suppose, for discussion. I was hoping that if there wasn't any opposition or things we couldn't figure out, we might even make a recommendation to proceed with this process. But let me just quickly walk through the document that's before you. It's really outlines the purpose of what we've embarked on, provides a little bit of background on the need for a procedure like this in place at this level of the county, and again, just in providing assistance to us and helping us being able to discharge the responsibilities of the oath we've taken to the office, address issues of interest or conduct background work on technical or politically sensitive issues, They also serve as a way to build public consensus on controversial issues. They often give the community a forum for discussion in greater depth. Again, there's just a number of good reasons and rationale for having at least a basic framework for soliciting these names and making these appointments. I've also taken the time to go in and list all of the current commissions and committees that this body makes appointments to and tried to provide a brief description of what they actually do. That didn't exist when I arrived here, and so I lacked some knowledge and understanding of just what all those 25 boards and commissions did. So at a minimum, it was helpful for me to better understand that, and hopefully for you as well. I've also listed the terms and the number of individuals that are appointed to each of those boards and commissions. And then beginning on page 5 there of the document, I've laid out an appointments process, and I'd just like to quickly walk through those steps, and then we could open up for discussion, comments, or questions that committee members or commissioners might have. So first of all, I recommend formalizing what I'm calling an appointment subcommittee that would exist under this Economic and Physical Development Committee. That group would be meeting quarterly or as necessary once vacancies are publicly noticed. Any responses are gathered, collected by our executive assistant and sent to the subcommittee ahead of time. Let me just back up a bit. All the vacancies for these boards and commissions would be publicly noticed for 15 days on the county website and local newspapers, including the Independent and the Argus Press. The public notice should include a description of the purpose of the board or commission and some basic expectations. For example, the frequency of the meetings and the estimated hours that these individuals may be contributing to that service. Following the 15-day deadline for submitting, for the publicly noticed vacancy, applicants, residents would be given a 15-day period for being able to respond, indicating their expressed interest in serving on the commission, and include answers to what I'm calling a candidate questionnaire. They would not be required to submit a resume unless they would like to. That would be up to their discretion. There's an example of a candidate questionnaire that I took from the city of Rochester Hills, just to give you the idea of the kinds of questions that would be asked on this questionnaire, their reasons for wanting to serve, some of their interests and qualifications, any past experience, other organizations they might currently serve, pertinent education that these individuals have, any hobbies and interests, and additional information. So it's a pretty basic questionnaire that they'd be asked to fill out to be considered for that vacancy. Again, following the 15-day public notice and the 15-day deadline, these would be collected and sent to the appointment subcommittee for review. And then it would be up to that subcommittee to determine if they want to invite these applicants in for a Q&A. If there's strong interest for a given position, it may be prudent to bring the different candidates in and better understand their background and their desire for wishing to serve. And then it would be that appointment subcommittee would make a recommendation to the full committee and advance that nomination. So I'll stop there. That's the basic overview of the process that I've laid out here. And I would open it up to comments and questions. Sure.
So I have some questions. So if we form a subcommittee of this committee, how many people are on that subcommittee then? There's 3 of us on this committee.
I'd say it could be those that currently serve on the committee. It could even not, it doesn't even necessarily need to be a separate committee. We could just serve that same function at this level, I suppose.
And then on the posting in the newspaper, does that mean, because Argus is a daily, does that mean a daily posting, or is that like once a week posting in the Argus?
Well, one of the comments I heard from residents is that just simply one notice in one paper, it comes and goes and people don't read the newspaper every day, that it would be nice to have it recur there over some period of time. So if they happen to miss it in the newspaper, there'd still be an opportunity for them to catch it on another day.
In regards to that, if I may.
Yeah, let's see if Commissioner McMaster has any
So
additional.
the only other thing, and I like how you went through and you did the, how many members in the years. I think we need a little more detail on some of this, because like, I know like the board of canvassers, that's something that's actually done through the party process. That's the political party process, the county parties. The forward stuff would be to Caroline, and I believe you would come and make a recommendation, and then it's up to us then, I think.
I go to the Democratic and Republican parties, they give me 3 names.
Right.
And then I come before the board.
Or and I don't know, the subcommittee or whatever, but, I'm worried about the posting in the papers, because I know, budget-wise, I know that can get expensive. I mean, we have it on the website, if we do it once a week in the Indy and once a week in the Argus, I don't know necessarily we need to do it more than once a week in the Argus.
So that would be like 2 listings in the Argus then over a 15-day period, is that how I interpret that?
I guess, or 2, and then I don't know what our Patty, what's our budget for like,
Our budget's like $100 for advertising for boards all year. We've not budgeted the kind of money to cover a $300 ad for 15 days, which is what it amounts to. I mean, it would be serious money to do 15 days for each one of these board appointments.
Okay, well, that's why I bring it for
Yeah, no,
discussion here.
I'm just saying that,
I think part of
it's a
the,
start here.
yeah, the challenge I experienced is that people are unaware of these vacancies, and there'd be a lot more people out there that would be willing to serve a very important function. So what is it worth for us as a board to allocate the necessary resources to get fresh minds and new ideas here serving us in our capacity? Commissioner Marks?
Yeah, in response to the money, because that obviously would be an issue. One idea I just thought of on the spot would be, what if we posted quarterly to check the website regularly for posting, just to remind people that go on the website. And then there'll only be 4 ads all year, and it would just remind people to go check the website, and that would be the main source of people. Oh, maybe I'll click through and see if there's any openings right now. Could save a whole lot of money and not take down the whole process at the same time.
Well, again, I'm trying to strike a balance between reaching out to a whole new constituency that I believe exists that is just not aware of these vacancies versus the need for, a reasonable expense. I don't think it's how cheap can we do this is the right approach.
Let's see, if we take Woodhull Township. There are individuals there that don't get the Argus. There are individuals that don't get the Independent, whether they don't pay for the Argus or they haven't called the Independent to have the newspaper box put up. They get maybe the State Journal. I don't know, I run into this campaigning down on the south end. They don't even know that the courthouse was in Corona. It's in Wausau, where exactly it is. And I don't know how we, without spending a ton of money, I don't know how we.
I wonder, is it worth having a conversation with the newspapers? Might they be willing, as a community partner, to offer the county some reduced rates, some special dispensation, given the import of what we're talking about here, and their civic duty to serve the governance of this county? Again, I'd like to think creative here and a different way we might skin the cat than just how much money we got and how little we want to
And
spend.
we could do that. We could go talk to the Argus, the Independent. The weekly covers half the county, from the north to the south to M52. So, maybe we go talk to them too. I don't know.
I'd like to, thank you, Commissioner Ganesh. I'd like to hear from some of the other commissioners. Commissioner Brown?
Just talking about, the various media, is Facebook even an option? Somehow creating something on Facebook? It's a lot of people.
We had talked about Tom Mankey, possibly talking to Tom Mankey about having him post it on his two Facebook. He's got more of a following than.
Just trying to throw a different idea out there. A lot of people look at Facebook, and I don't know how Facebook works, quite honestly. How you get to gross numbers of people, versus, your friend list. I don't really understand it that well, but it would seem like, I mean, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, go on Facebook or some other form, other media out there.
Well, I mean, you can also do paid
Right.
advertising on Facebook, which is, depending on what you're marketing, could be very effective.
The other, if you only met quarterly, obviously that's every 3 months, that's kind of a long time for
So
somebody.
there's a clause in here, though, if we have to, we can meet, right? Did you put a, we can meet soon?
So it could be similar, it could be, and,
There was a need to have a
And-
position
and-
expedited, like the
and-
zoning board of appeals or whatever the case may be.
and reappointments wouldn't necessarily be under this program.
That's a great question. I guess I hadn't really thought about reappointments. I would still like to see, I mean, reappointments incumbency can sometimes lead to complacency. I mean, I would almost like to hear from those serving on the current boards and commissions of why they want to continue and what the experience has been like, so.
Mhm.
And in that same note, I know we have batted around the idea of term limits. Would that be something that could be incorporated? And do we want to do term limits for any particular boards or committees, or do we want to stay away from them?
Yeah, again, another great question. I guess, given the dearth of candidates, I understand that appear interested, it would be hard to shut somebody out that's been serving simply because of term limits. I'm not a big fan of term limits generally, because, good people go away unnecessarily at times. So, but again, great question, and
Just throw them out.
yeah.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Wilson?
I guess I'm from the old school. I've been here for, this makes 7 years. I think the process we have has been working all right. I think we're not from a great big county where we're gonna get a lot of people. Half the people don't get the newspaper. We can advertise it mouth to mouth, townships we go to, and just let it go with that. If we got a lot of those boards, there's 6, 7 on it, there's one missing, I don't think the world comes to the end. So I think it's just a big waste of time and money. 100%.
I'm not opposed to doing something with this, but I'd like, I'd like to get more set on what we're gonna do and a cost analysis of what it's gonna cost. And, I mean, at a certain point, it's gonna have to be put into the budget, if it's several $1,000s, it would have to be a budgetary item. So, I guess we need to have more of a cost analysis before we make any final decisions.
So if I can ask, sort of from your perspective, what is the value of this effort, do you believe, to the county and how it executes its responsibilities?
I'm not saying nothing about the value, I'm just saying what is the bottom line, is what it's gonna cost if you're gonna pay for meetings and advertising, just what kind of money are we talking about?
Just a basic cost estimate then, and if we look at the number of renewing positions in a given year.
$500 a year, is it gonna be $5,000 a year? I wouldn't wanna vote yes on something and then find out that it's costing $5,000 to $10,000 a year, and are you getting your money's worth out of that, so.
Yeah, I understand the question. It's just, how do we measure whether we're getting our money out of it or not? Who decides what value we get for 3,000 or 5,000 or 10,000?
I think we have enough problem trying to get people even to sign up, and most of those boards, all you need is common sense. I mean, they're not less, you don't have to be a millionaire or a financier person to be on those boards. But we're lucky even to get the volunteers we do now. If we come in here and drill them, I don't think we're gonna get anybody. That's my opinion.
Well, just to clarify, that's not exactly what's being proposed here. It's to
Well,
have a
that's
very-
what I see it, so.
Okay. Well, I just don't want it to be misinterpreted, is all. I think it's a very basic process that would at least give us a chance to be introduced to the candidates and understand a little bit more of why they want to serve and what their background is. And if there's 7 people that express interest for one vacancy, it seems to me a basic process for understanding who might be better fitted for that is in order. So simply a word of mouth and virtually no process heretofore that exists that I've been able to find, I think we need to move this forward in some manner.
All right, it's up to the board.
Commissioner Root, I'm
What
curious.
makes any one person's willingness to serve or want to serve more important than the next? How do you make that determination? 5 people come in, they all want to be on ZBA. What makes you determine their interest and whose is more important or validated?
If I understand the question, that would be the whole idea of bringing them in and asking 5 different candidates why they want to serve, what experience they might have to help in that capacity. How else do we decide currently if we get 5 names? Let me ask it that way.
We don't get 5 names.
I don't know, we have 7.
We get 5 openings and 2 names.
I'm saying if we did a better job with outreach, there's a very real chance
But
we
what's
might
the
have.
chance we spend you $10,000 to advertise this all year long and we still have 5 vacancies and 2 people apply? Then it's all for nothing.
I'm not necessarily in agreement with that rationale. I think there's no process that I've been able to locate on how we appoint people to the current boards, other than one day in the paper, and sometimes it goes on the website.
The board appointments all end in December, usually at the end of the year. So quarterly would be pointless. There shouldn't be as many vacancies as we're having. If we could get these things in the right orders, yeah, people resign, people move out of town, people's jobs change, their availability changes. And yeah, sometimes something just springs up, okay, there's an opening on planning, there's an opening on solid waste because this guy now doesn't live here, doesn't live in the area, or just wants to be done. For the most part, all the appointments happen and they end on December 31st of whatever year they end. So usually the committee process, there's no committee. At the end of the year, the executive assistant sends out letters that, do you want to serve again? We advertise, people send in stuff. We get a whole drawn-out process, and it's names, and usually you don't even have enough. Usually, we can see that. We had a holdover from last year of ones we couldn't fill. So we took all the names we did have available, because I don't feel it necessary to just pick a name and say, I don't want that name. I don't think we advertised enough, so I don't want that name. I mean, anybody that's willing to serve, I just don't understand that's all we've done. That's all this Board of Commissioners has done all year long, since the 2 years I've been on, since the start of this year. An opening comes up, a name comes in, you advertise, you put the ad out there, one name comes in. If you've got 2 openings on solid waste, 1 opening on ZBA, 1 opening on planning, 2 openings on and 1 name comes in for each, it just gets pushed before the board. I mean, it's not like we're picking and choosing who we want. 1 name comes in, 1 name goes before the board. There's just no other way to, should we hold that person? You're almost looking at that person as though they're not good enough to serve when you start wanting to, we went through this the last 2 months. People come in wanting to serve, we get write-ups in the paper wanting to serve, and we turned down 4 different people that ended up walking out of here wondering, that came in here, met with me, hey, I want to serve, I helped out in the jail, I've done things for free, I'm a small business owner, I'd love to get involved. I'm getting towards my retirement age, what do I got to do? You reach out, these people reach out to you, and they say, hey, just apply, here's the list, apply for them, see what we can do, maybe we get you on a board. And it's like, these people come in and we just say, nah, we need a process, you're not good enough, is the message that that sends. And I hate doing that. Your process would be good if we had 50 people applying for 5 positions. I think it would be good. A more in-depth policy like that might work. And hey, maybe if we get to the point, maybe we're drawing more people in, I don't know. But as of right now, turning people away to wait on a process that may or may not happen, I don't agree with.
I appreciate your comments. I think I'm being misunderstood. Again, I think the first challenge was we're not getting a lot of expressions of interest from community residents. That's the first challenge for us. So one way to address that challenge is to do a better job of outreach, marketing, communicating that these vacancies exist. So if we're successful in that, and using a different process, which as far as I understand, there's been no process before. Once we achieve that, then there will be more interest, and there will need to be, again, a rudimentary process. So I provided the background statement here and the material that I drew from, and let me just read that citation, all right? So the resource I used is Local Government Citizen Advisory Board, Citizen Advisory Boards. Examples, options, and model practices for the effective and efficient use of advisory boards by local governments. That's the Municipal and Research Services based in Washington, D.C., August of 2008. So this is not like it's some new thing, earth-shattering process here. I'm just trying to get the county to a point where we consider new ways of getting people involved in what we do. I thought I had consensus last month that there was agreement and a very basic process was welcomed and would be supported. And now I'm just kind of hearing again the status quo reemerging. So I'm happy to spend some more time answering the questions brought up by Commissioner Master, Commissioner Bruff. The cost issue Commissioner Bartz brings up. I'm happy to make calls to the newspapers and see if there's some better ways of doing it than the way we've been doing it all along. Commissioner Holzhausen?
I think we can talk to death. I think people should make up their mind, the commissioners, and I think we ought to have a vote on it. So that's my, before we go any further, that's my opinion, so.
You can't vote on something we don't know how much it's gonna cost though.
Well, I'm not asking for a vote. I said this was for information. I thought it might be further along. Again, some good questions have been raised. This is a first iteration. I'd be happy to go back and answer some of these questions and bring it back. If it's just to kick the can down the road and I don't have any support, there's no agreement that the county needs to be doing something better than it's been doing, I won't waste any more time, and we'll just keep muddling through like we've been doing and hoping for the best.
That's why I said we should call for a vote and see if we want to move forward or not, so. That's the best way.
Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, I do have to say that in a couple of townships that I've gone to and two individuals, since Chairman Root put the list of vacancies, I believe you did that, they've approached me. I mean, I had two individuals approach me, boy, I didn't know there were that many jobs available, or that many boards available. And discussion has come up in the townships as well. Boy, I didn't know. So I think that's the key. And I do agree that, I think the process is important. I do think it'll be much more effective with a larger number of applicants. But I also feel that we're going to get a larger number of applicants if we can figure out a cost-effective way to get the word out. I mean, I realize it's two small conversations and two individuals, but, out of the whole county. But it's just people I've run into, and they did appreciate that ad in the paper, because they said, well, we just didn't know. So, to me, I think a good start would be to figure out definitely how can we afford this, and is there a way to do this cheaply? I mean, we obviously, if we start spending thousands of dollars, I think we're in big trouble. I don't think the public's going to appreciate that, but if there are other media outlets that we can utilize and get the ball rolling, I think this process could be very effective. But I do also agree with Chairman Root that, an individual, that's why I was asking about the timeliness in the quarterly meetings, and that if an individual comes to volunteer to be on a board, I think a long drawn-out process they'll walk. I think they will.
Again, and apparently I'm being misinterpreted. I didn't intend this to be an onerous or drawn-out process. I want it to be streamlined as possible. Some jurisdictions go through much greater pains to put their people on vacancies, boards, and commissions they have. I'm just trying to strike a balance between virtually no process, other than word of mouth and extremely informal, to some modicum of rationality on how these people got to where they did. And as a commissioner and trying to discharge responsibilities to my office, I think that's what I have to do and should be doing. I'm happy that this was a strong proposal. I've got your feedback. Again, if I can be assured that you'll support something, if it answers these questions, and it's something that is cost effective, and bring it back for discussion. But again, I'm not gonna waste any more time if this is just.
Is it possible, or is the only option, it's an all or nothing thing, or is there a way that you could modify this to be a gradually implemented program based on the number of applicants? Is that a possibility? I mean, you know your proposal better than any of us, so.
Is it one person, do you have an opening, one person applies, past the 15 days, no one else applies, boom, we go with that? If it's more than two, does it kick into this? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Does it kick into a?
That, or even implement, that word, implementation of the program in a graduated manner. We'll try this step for a little while, see how that goes, and then we can add this and add this. I do believe that we're gonna get more participation. Maybe I'm just, it's wishful thinking, but I do seem to sense that there's a little more interest out there in the county. Especially, and I think it's our responsibility as individuals in our township meetings to bring it up as well, every single time we go to one. So that, because those people talk, they talk to other people, we're now streaming live, people are hearing us talk about this. I do believe that we can build it up. It's not gonna happen overnight. And I think that's the fear, that if we implement a system that may appear on the surface as being a little cumbersome for one or two applicants, I do believe that it will be effective as we develop more applicants.
Yeah, no, I appreciate this is helpful input. And by no means would I want to turn a single applicant away to a vacancy. I mean, that's not my goal here.
Right.
My goal is solving the first problem, which is a lack of interest, but I think it's, like you point out, it's because people don't know. We have 75,000 people in this county. I have to believe there's more people that might be interested if we could get to those individuals. So assuming we're successful, and yeah, I suffer from being an optimist too, but assuming we're successful there, then we have the challenge of moving these interested individuals through some basic process to arrive at a decision. I think just to pretend we're never going to get these applicants, there's no way to run a railroad.
Well, I had a conversation just Sunday with an individual at their home. Happened to be a friend of mine, but you know, she wasn't aware that there were quite that many. So there's 3 individual conversations that I just forgot about that. And she said, I'll look into that. You know, she served before, so.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. And there might be ways where, you know, our executive assistant could send emails out to all the township supervisors or the, you know, township whatever the case may be. So we look at an electronic distribution, you know, at the township level, and they can announce it at, you know, monthly meetings or whatever the case. But I'm willing to go back and fill in the gaps here, but only if I feel that there's agreement that we need to do something better than we currently
I'll
are.
go with you, I'll volunteer to go with you too, because I know Argus, Indian Weekly, I know owners and editors probably better than any of us here, so if you and I want to go together, I'll volunteer my time to go with you, and I think that's one of the first steps is attracting the people, getting the volume of people.
But let's put some costs around what that recruitment effort might entail. I agree. So, and I'm happy to even reach out to those papers. I'm just looking for your support that, yes, we need something more than we have currently. I have no preconceived notions what it'll be in the end, but you'll work and we'll pull in the same direction and try and get there. That's what I'm looking for, I guess, today.
I support that.
Sure.
Commissioner Martin, to put you on the spot?
I don't know, I feel like I brought up one item and it was just shot right down, so no, I'm against it.
Can you refresh my memory what item that?
I'm done commenting.
Okay. Commissioner Ruth?
No.
No support. Commissioner Holzhausen?
not at this level,
And not at this level.
what you wanna do, so.
What would you?
I just, no use to talk about it anymore, because we're talking to death. I talked to a lot of people, I can't even get anybody to come to a commissioners meeting. So, look how many people come from the audience here to the commissioner meeting, well, I don't get on a board. I mean, I think we could maybe, all the townships and cities, email them and have to talk about it there. Maybe we can stir up a little bit of fire, but if you think we're gonna get 10, 15 people for all those committees, I just don't think so.
No, maybe 3 though. I'd like 3.
I don't even think that, so.
Well,
Okay.
That's your opinion, so I got my opinion, you guys got your opinion, so we'll just shoot the moon.
Thank you. Well, I sense that there would be a majority of commissioners that think to comply with good governance practices at the level we're functioning at or operating at, it would probably be worth trying to take it to the next step and provide something, bring something back that's cost effective and can
That's why I said
achieve
we
what
should
we're
have a
trying
vote
to
on
achieve.
it, so.
All right. Thank you. That's all of the agenda items, I think. We'll turn to the final call to the public. I didn't receive any additional cards. But if there are any members of the public? Yes, ma'am.
Do we need to, I believe there's a meeting that it'll be voted on for the rezoning portion. Do we need to, Justin didn't think that we needed to be here for it?
It would come before the committee of the whole on Wednesday, where it will be reviewed once more on the agenda, and then a vote occurs there where it goes to the full commission on Thursday. Based on what I think I know about this request, I'm not sure it would be necessary. All of the commissioners are present today, so I can't imagine any questions arising between now and Wednesday. And if I'm miscalculating in that assessment, commissioners, please tell me.
It should be good.
What about the Thursday meeting?
same group.
That's
So,
fine.
okay, so today
Yes
there
or
were
no?
3 of us who voted on it. On Wednesday, it'll be all 7 of us. And then on Thursday, it'll be all 7 of us again.
For the final vote.
So everybody's here, so I guess if anybody has questions, they could ask you, but I mean, are we all good? I mean, do we all know?
I'm not gonna say.
He's not showing his hand.
Okay, well, you might want to come Wednesday because the commissioner doesn't know how.
We can't tell you not to attend. I don't
But if
envision
you
any
don't think it's
obstacles,
necessary.
but we have no way of knowing. I've seen things change on a dime in this county in 24 to 36 hours for unknown reasons at times. But,
Yeah, I don't see a problem, but I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say what it's good, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
yes, thank you for coming. Thanks for all your hard work. Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I'm over 2 on township. I'm sorry, you all have yours on Wednesday, right? Yeah, I went to, I went to theirs, nobody. I watched it Monday. Appreciate that. Well, just Iota and, I don't know. He's got 3 hours. Mine was spread out nicely, but I read it, it was split up. The first was Friday. And it, there's the first chair. Yeah, sure was. Did I go? And so I got
What we talk about every day.
Why didn't you mention that?
Someone under their money.
Well, I can't make a motion, so it's up to who's not gonna work.
Yeah.
I'm for it. I'm in the work.
And I think it's maybe.
So you mean they all know about this?
It could be advertised. That's hard. That's it. It's the word of mouth.
I know.
I was going on the beach, so I was going out with the program.
That way, because we are gonna, we've got 17 parties. Well, parties can go, I should go.
I just wondered, what are we gonna process this?
I gotta send all the resumes out to the commissioners, and the Health and Human Services Committee is received, so the Health and Human Services Committee will have discussion about, we didn't put any one singular name on there. I know Brandon reached out and talked to them, I was gonna reach out and call everyone and thank them for applying tomorrow. Final support. So what's gonna happen?
And if we have,
Yeah, under Health and Human Services.
oh, the people.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, it seems like.
About 3 more minutes, we'll get started with finance.
Are you on cost of maybe you guys negotiate a decent rate. I don't know if it should be quarterly. I wonder what the issue is still with, if it's you, if it's you, Commissioner Mark, or Big Master, you guys meet, we have, say like the veterans, 7 applicants, 2 positions. Well, you guys bring 2 forward, what's still after the other 4 boards? And I'm wondering, I'm just trying to get all the different.
Oh, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just talking about getting to the point of the recommendation. There's nothing that can ever stop the recommendation of anything. You can say that about any issue.
I've been out there, just don't three or 4 new people want to get on it, then all the boards want all the old people. They want to get old people last year, so I was so upset about that.
We've done that with the veterans board.
There's so many people that are so turned off from us, it makes it.
Trucking away, eventually, together. Right now, I like that you took the time to put both. I like the guys first. I like the parts of it. I don't know what. The questionnaires on that. There's goods to it and bads. If I'm gonna be boxed in to make a decision right now.
No, I realize that. I just like to know how to answer this question.
Be a little more approachable. Well, we're really just part of their HR.
Yeah, I'm all.
I complain about when I was here.
Yeah. Whatever you want.
It's impossible.
Let's do that.
It's impossible.
No, I would, if I could be doing
Or, that's our
You guys know
goal.
anyone?
We need to get a good job in a one for, or fair.
Yes. Yeah, they do. I applied to I can't get in. No, it's Byron, that's the whole thing. These guys here, ADPs, the last agenda item. If you want to speak up. What do you need to know?
You know, like. Well, it was his director.
That's black.
Well, don't worry, if you had a recession, if you had a later, when I was here, they were just that's a sure.
Oh, yeah, I guess I should.
The church has got it, everybody's on the town, everybody's got central lot. You limit it, you have to know it. And then we got to pay overtime.
You gonna track the web?
Let's call the Finance and Administration meeting to order, and we will start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Be ready. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this time, we will move to a call to the public. Anyone have any public comments? There's no public here, really. All right. Without any public comment, let's move on to agenda item number 4. I will consider a motion to authorizing the Shiawassee County Treasurer's Office to contract for a non-employee temp at an hourly rate range from $12.99 to $15.89 for a period of no more than 120 days to be paid from 101-253-804.000 Treasurer's contracts, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Make that motion.
Got a motion. Let's support that. Any support? Is there any discussion on this matter?
Yeah, I'm just curious, sort of the purpose of the position, what we're doing.
Would you like to make a quick comment, rundown on what he's for, he, she would be for?
I have an individual in the office that Family Medical Leave Act, and I have another person that's willing to come over into that area and cover. And then in case I run into more of a snag than what I hope doesn't happen or could happen, that's why I have a temporary, kind of in the waiting line in case if I do need it.
Pete, when you say in case you run into a snag or something.
Well, my office is staffed right now with, there's the treasurer, the chief deputy treasurer, there's 2 employees out front and 1 part-time person. So the person that's going to be off, if the other part-time person fills that position, I'm still a temporary person short.
I see.
Okay, so I'm not adding any more staff, I'm just trying to cover in case I do need it. I may not. It's kind of a stopgap measure just to hope that it works out.
Okay, and assuming you will need that help, this is an increased cost to our current year budget because presumably the person on the Family Leave Act will be paid during their absence, right? So,
Certain portion of it, I don't have the numbers to know the exact dollar amount or anything that way.
okay. So I guess I would turn to our finance director. This is new costs, I sense, to the budget, and we can absorb that.
As Tom said, he's not going to utilize this unless the need arises, which may during the course of the period that the leave will be. It should be a minimal cost, and we should be able to find funding to move in there, which would come before the board to support this if it's actually activated.
Okay.
An individual and a family leave act, is that doesn't come out of a different budget? Or it does, they still get paid through?
It's all the same budget.
That's the purpose of the act, I think. Okay.
Well, they're not paid unless they're using sick time, right?
Right.
They're just using sick time.
Oh.
The Leave Act just lets you take that time.
It
yes.
preserves your job.
Okay.
But I assume, yeah, they would be compensated regardless.
Just from their sick time. If they don't have sick time, then they're not. no.
Or vacation time.
Oh, well, that's
It appears to be our policy that you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, any leave regardless of what cost is. Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question. John, what's the history of staffing in your office? 5 years ago, how many people did you have?
Well, it's probably a good 8 to 9 years ago. There used to be 6 people in my office, that's including the treasurer, the chief deputy treasurer, and 4 employees. I lost one person in 2000, might be off a year or so, 2008. I lost another person in 2009 or 10. So there used to be a total of 6 people in that office. Right now, we're at 4 people and a part-time person. So we've only come back a part-time person for what I've lost in 2. So I'm still 1.5 people short.
So then on some days, if people are sick or, I know you never are, obviously you're there early in the morning, but you could be down literally to a skeletal crew.
I could be down different times. I've been down to 2 people, very rarely, because you need at least that many to operate. 3 sometimes is a standard.
All right, is there any other questions or comments about this? All right, we'll put agenda item number 4 to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none opposed. Motion carries. Move on to agenda item number 5. I will entertain a motion to consider authorizing the Shiawassee County Clerk's Office to hire a deputy circuit court clerk to fill a vacancy at pay grade 3 on the rise salary schedule with a salary range from $24,774 to $30,309, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Make that motion.
Motion, support, and a support. Is there any discussion on this? Pretty straightforward, sounds like just
Is this an
refilling.
addition or is
There's
this
a
a
new
replacement?
It's okay.
It's, someone walked off the job,
Okay.
so, on the court side,
Okay.
last week.
I mean, and I would add, what I was just asking about Tom, about skeletal crews, correct me if I'm wrong, but on the court side,
On both sides,
okay, but, okay, you're down to how many this week?
2 on each side. Last week I had 1 on one side.
Yeah,
No, I'm just saying, just so everyone knows here, it's not like these are
I'm not questioning the need, I just want to be sure we have resources to.
probably of all
cover
our
it. That's all.
offices, these are the 2, probably most of our skeletal crews right now.
Yes.
Any other comments, questions? All right. Agenda item number 5, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Agenda item number 6, I will entertain a motion to consider authorizing Buildings and Grounds to hire a full-time maintenance worker 1 to fill a vacancy at pay grade 3 on the rise salary schedule with a salary range from $24,774 to $30,309, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents. So here we have again, it looks like another vacancy to fill.
Make that motion.
Support.
Support, any discussion?
Is this a vacancy, did the gentleman that we just put to full-time?
No,
He
it
just,
was Kelly, ended up quitting,
oh,
and we're just hoping to replace her. So mainly it'd be more of a cleaning position and stuff, but, you know, without her being there, I mean, it drops us down.
even with now going to full-time, we're right back. That's one square. So, we're just looking to replace her at this point.
Okay. Any more comments, questions? All right. Agenda item number 6, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 7, accept a motion to consider authorizing buildings and grounds to hire 2 part-time temporary employees up to 30 hours per week with a pay range from $10.17 per hour to $12.44 per hour with no fringe benefits except those required by law to be paid from line item 101-691-703.000 and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Make that motion.
Motion.
Support it?
Support. Now, this is going to be 2 new, right? In addition,
Yes,
it's not a vacancy.
2 new, and what I'd be utilizing them for is mainly the lawns and stuff. Because right now, Charlie's not mowing anymore for the county, and right now I got people out mowing lawns, stuff to get it done.
Was that the individual that was volunteering to mow?
Yes.
What was the reason for him not?
I think he's just older and, you know, I mean, yeah, he's older.
Is this temporary summer help?
Yeah, this is like a temporary summer help, and that's what I'm kind of looking for, some college kids to come in, you know, and the reason why I was looking for mainly 2, so that when one's mowing, one can be weed whipping, and that they basically could change off. So when the other one could mow for a while, and the other one weed whip. Plus, I think it's just kind of a safety aspect too, of having somebody there in case something did happen. And, we can make, you know, things look a lot better. We just don't have the time to get stuff done. Because, right now, guys are out mowing lawns rather than being in any of the buildings or anything else. And right now, the grass is really growing, so, by the time we get done going around, they're out there all the time.
This is for 3 months, do you envision?
Yeah, I'm looking about 3 months or so, you know, mainly when the grass is growing till the end of the season and, you know, which is usually runs around like college kids. That's why I'm kind of looking for like college kids or something that, you know, give them a summer job and they can work and maybe make a little for college and then, you know, by the time they're ready to go back to college, they're leaving anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 2 people at $10 an hour for 12 weeks, 30 hours, we're looking at $7,500, quick back of the envelope.
And that's been budgeted in the Parks Division already. We have money in place for it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this route was taken because it would have been far more costly to look into contractors. We were considering that, just having, so we can get caught up. Maybe having some contractors, but we think this is gonna be a cheaper, well, it will be cheaper contracting. Do we need to have stipulated in this motion that it's gonna be for 12 weeks so that we don't have a potential for linger? How does that work?
Under the rules for the AFS CME union, temporary employees are only authorized for less than 120 days, which should be added to this motion.
Okay. So, maybe in addition to that motion, okay. So we vote on the amended motion, or do we?
You vote on the motion,
Okay.
and then you vote on, no, you have to vote on you vote on the amended motion first.
Okay. So we vote to amend the motion first. All right.
What's friendly amendment, we all just say yes.
Do we have
To not exceed 120 days?
Yes.
supported, so let's vote on that. So yes, okay, now we will vote on agenda item number 7. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion now carries. And we move on to agenda item number 8. I will entertain a motion to consider authorizing the friend of the court to enter into an interlocal agreement for IT services with G2G for credit card processing services to be executed by Chief Judge Ward L. Clarkson.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion, support, and a support, and we can now open to, what is it?
Hi, Christy Bray. I'm the director for the Friend of the Court. And basically what this is a friend of the court has traditionally or has never accepted credit card payments. G2G is a company out of Oakland County's IT department, and it stands for government to government, so it's government helping government. And they came in about a month and a half ago now with a presentation essentially offering the ability to help us collect credit card payments for child support payments. And this would increase our collections, I think, considerably, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to start accepting credit card payments. Other offices around the state do contract with G2G for this very service. There is absolutely no cost at all for them for their service. They'll come in and provide the equipment as well as the training. The other positive aspect of entering into this agreement is that this is through Oakland County's IT department, which is approximately 200 people. So we've got the service and the support of 200 IT people in the event that we have any issues with this credit card company. And again, they'll provide all the training on site as well as the equipment. The other great fact about this is that right now there is a fee to use the credit card. It's a scale, or it has a, for if you spend $50 to $100, it's X number of dollars. Anytime a credit card payment, and Patty can correct me if I'm wrong, is processed through the county right now, there is a fee to use a credit card. Right now, I believe the county is picking up that cost. This cost through this company would get passed on to the consumer, to the litigant in our case. And the great thing about G2G is they are collecting, the lady has admitted they collect way too much money, so they provide revenue sharing. So for every fee that G2G collects with a credit card payment that's used in Shiawassee County, they'll kick back 50% of that revenue or 50% of that fee back to the county as revenue. So not only is it a great way for the county to save the fees that they are currently absorbing, but it also provides a revenue sharing. So I did present this at leadership last month, and we did have some other department heads that were interested. I provided the information. And just to better inform and to educate the commissioners possibly looking into this, not only for the front of the court, but for other departments in the county, Valerie Talia, who was the individual that I met with, she's going to be here on Wednesday with a presentation. So if you have any additional questions or concerns or anything at all, she'd be more than happy to discuss that with you. So what we're looking at this point in time, because the agreement is only with the front of the court, Chief Judge Ward Clarkson is my immediate supervisor, would be the one to sign up on this interlocal agreement. Should the county go to it, then it will be the board chair that would sign the agreement on behalf of Shiawassee County. So at this point in time, though, like I said, we're only looking for you to authorize Judge Clarkson to sign off on behalf of the front of the court. It would be a great opportunity in the event the county wants to move to it. Front of the court, hopefully we'll have it implemented for a month or two before other department heads may want to consider it, and they can certainly ask any questions that we may be having or have any concerns. They can certainly direct them my way, and I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
I got a quick question. Sure. Thank you. I fully support this. Christy, thanks for being here. Just curious, you mentioned something about the excess revenue or fees. How does that result? Do you have any idea?
Yes. So for every dollar amount, there's a certain fee that's charged that would get passed on to the consumer. So if somebody wanted to make a $100 child support payment at the front of the court, we would take the we would swipe their credit card, and they would charge $100. Then there would be a second charge on their credit card statement, and I believe the fee for that might be like $5.50, or just say $5. So they would have two different transactions that they would see reflected on their credit card statement, one for $100 and then one for $5. Once that payment is processed through G2G, then G2G keeps $2.50 of the $5 they charged, and they send a check back, I believe on a monthly basis, to the county. We would get that $2.50. So for other departments, like district court that I know processes an incredible amount of payments, this could be a very great source of revenue for the county ultimately. G2G, the representative indicated that they're just making too much money, so they've created this revenue sharing with counties.
Yeah, that caught my attention. So, I mean, the credit card company needs to get paid, and there's usually a 3% transaction fee. So I was just trying to understand if G2G gets paid, and there was this excess, who pays the credit card company, which must be somehow in that format?
Their credit card company, G2G, is the credit card company.
Oh, they're the company itself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, they're
forgive me.
running all the credit card company, or all the payments. They also have the protections, and she can explain this, I am not a tech
Okay,
person.
no, that's fine.
But she indicated too that the payments, when you swipe it, the information I don't believe gets stored in a cloud or anything, so the opportunities for hacking or for somebody stealing or, credit identity or anything like that, credit theft, are very nominal, but she can go into more of those details. I just want to
Thank you. No,
pass
that's
that
very
information
helpful.
along.
Thank
Yes.
you.
So we're not hooked into through the state disbursement unit program?
No, what happens is that payment will get swiped locally, and then that.
No. Prior to us calling this company. if
Right
you-
now, we have 0 credit card options.
You can't go through the state of Michigan to make payments.
You can go through the state of Michigan, yes. We do have a credit card company, and Caroline actually was involved in this when she was at the front of the court. Right now, there's a credit card company, there is a fee with that. I believe it's a number that you call into, and there's a fee that the consumer or the litigant pays. It takes approximately 2 weeks to process that payment. It's kind of on the Pony Express. It's very frustrating for the individual who sees that payment in their system and is expecting those monies, and then we have to tell them it's a couple more weeks because it has to clear multiple levels of banking the way that payment is receipted. It's not necessarily, I think we only have probably a handful of people that use that payment process right now.
It was picking up. I mean, by the time I left, we had probably a dozen every couple of weeks. It kind of went in waves. And it was something more where people were paying their bonds more than anything. Resolve bench warrant is really where it became very handy for people because they could also do it over at the jail, but it's a service.
But locally, we've never had a credit card company. You can't come to the front of the court right now at our
Right,
window and
right.
make a payment with a credit card. We would just give you like an
So
800
what kind of
number.
fees are we talking?
The fees, I did bring the information. Initially, I think the judges had a little bit of concern with the fees, but, so if you wanted to make a $700 to $800 payment, it's $22. Now, these fees are only, cash is king always. There's obviously no fee if you pay cash, so I don't think that's unusual, and I don't think people are surprised by using a credit card that they're assessed a fee. I know that even at my hair salon, I'm assessed a fee if I want to use my credit card. It's just the price you pay if you want the convenience of a credit card.
What's the interest rate?
There is no interest rate. It's just a flat rate until you get to anything over $1,000. Then it's a 2.75% of the order of the amount. So it's a flat rate.
Just the fee.
Sounds like a 3% fee, the $700 is an example.
Yeah, so anything from $0 to $49.99 is $2.50, of which we would get $1.25 back. So
the
I
fees
just,
are gonna be comparable to the state fees, then?
more or less, I want to say this might be a little, it starts out about the same, and then when you kind of get in that middle chunk, it seems to be a little bit higher, and then anything over 1,000, it's almost like we get a little bit of a break in the fee. So it's a little bit higher in the middle amounts from what I can tell.
Yeah, it seems like maybe there's a philosophical question, right?
No, I don't understand. So let's say you own a company, you're self-employed, and you're out of state for 2 months, and something happens to your company, your payroll, and you get a notice that your child support hasn't gone through, you're in another state, you can call through the state of Michigan, you can have it done, you're gonna get dinged on service fees. But I guess the difference is our county's gonna get the money now?
Yes. There's no revenue sharing with any other credit card payment, so we will get a portion of that back as revenue, which the representative said they do not, because they have many municipalities and cities and townships and counties that have gone to their system, and so the check just gets cut back to the county as a whole versus individual departments, so it would just go to the general fund. I suppose, however, if Patty or you folks wanted to designate, where the money should go, I believe she said that there are reports that could be run for if it wanted to go to each department specific as revenue, or if it just goes to
Ballpark
the.
us on the revenue that we would be getting.
Oh boy. She's indicated that other counties are making thousands and thousands of dollars. This is really truly a source of revenue for them that they can rely on. with the number of people that use credit card payments.
See, I guess that's what the question, it's a philosophical question.
It's, do you want your constituents being pissed at the state of Michigan? Or do you want them pissed at Shiawassee County?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
charging
the
fees?
question. I'm not disagreeing with you. Yeah, it's like, is it appropriate for us to be entering into this agreement because there's revenue sharing? I mean, some of these individuals are disadvantaged. You know, they're trying to, you know, expedite payments and make good on their obligations, yet we're nicking them, you know, whatever the fee is. And is that an appropriate role of government in this case, when we should be trying to facilitate, cover our costs where necessary, but making money and doing this because there's revenue sharing makes me a little uneasy.
I can tell you with my department, if I don't meet certain measures, then I lose 66% of my funding. So for the front of the court standpoint, I think it's a gamble that we should take to allow me the opportunity to collect additional monies for child support purposes. Because 2/3, as you folks I think are well aware, is paid by the federal government through reimbursements as long as I'm meeting my measures. So if I'm not meeting my measures, then I'm losing funding, which affects the general fund. So for me, at least for the front of the court standpoint, I think it makes sense to give us this opportunity to see how it goes. You know, we haven't had credit card payments, so this would be a new option, and I think it would be a great opportunity to explore this.
Yeah, I don't pretend to know enough about how you're funded and all that. I'm just sort of a basic question, is it the proper role of government in this case to be nicking individuals for a fee that we're making money and redirecting them?
Like I said,
There's
cash,
always still the cash option, and
cash
Yeah,
is king.
yeah, no, I know, I just raised it as a question.
the judges are both highly supportive of it, so. They'll be here Wednesday also.
Yeah.
so you guys
Can
have
need to sleep on it.
And just remember, she does not run G2G, so we might want to save some of these questions for that representative to kind of answer a little better for
And
us.
the money that you receive back in the revenue sharing, can that be used toward some of the lacking child support payments? Or can you, or does it go to general fund, or is that something that you can use to actually benefit recipients of the child support funds that are short many times?
It would be a source of revenue, so like I said, if those monies came back to the front of the court, then depending on what we saw on average, certainly I would look at different things that I could do to either increase collections. I don't know specifically, I haven't thought that far as to what the potential would be, only because I haven't, you know, there's no way to realize or recognize what this truly will
But
generate
your
for
question
revenue.
is, can that money be used to supplement
Correct.
individuals that are not receiving payments?
Correct.
And the answer would be,
Is it,
No.
is it?
No specific
So
to that, but
going
but it
into the
could
general
be
fund?
used for administrative purposes,
yes.
In your department?
technology.
Technology, or we have another issue that Judge Clarkson's going to present to you on Wednesday, that maybe that source of revenue could be used to help out in another particular area, which I'll wait till he's here. But Judge Stewart did express concern about exactly what you're saying, as far as another fee. He had asked whether or not the fee could be cut in half, and that the litigant only be charged with half of the fee, and we just not receive our revenue sharing, just to cut that cost down. I don't believe that the system is designed or set up that way, and I don't know as though the rep would modify it, because I think this is just a general system that they have for everybody who uses it. But Judge Stewart did indicate he had some concerns regarding that fee as well. But as I've indicated to Judge, we haven't had this option. Maybe nobody will use it. There's no loss, but
thank you for
we might
sharing
have
that
some.
background. I suspect people will use it. I mean, I see a 3% fee as exorbitant for credit card companies, and now it's going to be 5%. It's like a cash advance. I mean, it is a little bit bothersome. I mean, there's challenges with county budgets and all that, but this isn't, people don't fully appreciate the burden this can be on some individuals. So I guess I would just proceed with some apprehension and caution here.
I have maybe one last question. Do we have a legal, and this may actually be for our representative from the prosecuting attorney's office, do we have a legal obligation to notify the people that'll be using this program that they are going to be charged a fee? We have to have that somewhere.
It happens when you're on the phone.
You have to tell them on the phone?
They're notified on the phone.
Okay, so.
It's no different than you're ordering tickets to a concert and they say there's a service fee, or
So I presume you
there's a
guys have
shipping and
a
handling.
plan in place for that already worked out, ready to go?
We will have, they actually have this nice chart already created, and we will either create this again or ask them to create it. I'm sure they have this for display, that before somebody even swipes, I will instruct my staff, you understand that a second transaction will come onto your credit card statement with the fee that's connected to this. So they will fully understand, and you'd be surprised at the number of people that are willing to pay fees to keep their loved one out of jail for a period of time. So it's a small price to pay to keep someone out of jail
So
for 90
there'll be a
days.
swiper in your office,
Yes.
but then you can also call in then? There is that possibility or not?
There's, she talked about calling in. There's certain parameters and protocol that we have to go through so that there's no chance for identity theft. I haven't decided whether or not I would allow my staff to accept an over-the-phone credit card payment. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. Unfortunately, I was stuck in a hearing, and so I was late getting to this meeting, so I didn't catch the beginning part of it when that was mentioned. It definitely is an option. You can also go online and make a payment. So our deputy that we had hired, who is out right now doing a wonderful job collecting all kinds of payments from individuals at their homes. If they didn't have the cash available and didn't want to be arrested and brought in and booked, they can pay it right there. He can go online and actually take the payment, and it's a secure website, and make the payment online as well.
So, I mean, it's like there's a middleman in a transaction with a credit card company. I guess the question is, why can't Shiawassee County apply as a vendor with MasterCard and Visa and just take credit cards and run it through the system? I guess I'm...
The reason, Commissioners, is when you pay for something with a credit card, be it to, say, Walmart, you pay for a credit card. They don't, and you say you buy something for, the charge on the credit card is $100. They don't get $100.
You get 97.
Yes, they take less because, and they don't say anything because the convenience of people being able to use credit cards means they'll buy a lot more. So they accept that. But government, they can't take, if this guy owes say $1,200 to in child support, and he's making a $100 payment, the friend of the court cannot take $3 off that $100 payment.
I understand.
In fact, he'd be making 97, not.
I'm just saying, why don't we do it ourselves and charge 3% instead of 5%? I just,
Well,
it's 40% cheaper on the fee side.
There are those.
I think part of the system through the state of Michigan is, I believe, really secure, and it's like it's not like if you use it, you have to re-enter in all your information. Like, they don't store information. So I mean, I think that's part of it is, and part of paying the higher service fee is you're paying for the security of the credit card company and consumer.
Yeah, they have 200 people on staff, and they're continually updating and providing the most secure methods, and I think that's what part of the fee is to pay for that. They've realized, though, that they're doing so well with this that they're willing to share some of the revenue with the county.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and close discussion. We'll decide whether we're going to move this on to Wednesday, and it sounds like for sure there'll be some discussion on Wednesday if it does go forward. So at this time, let's go ahead and take a vote on agenda item number 8. All in favor of moving it to Wednesday, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chris, that was helpful.
Yeah, thank
We don't
you.
want to be difficult, there's just some
No.
questions.
No, and I apologize, I don't have all the answers, but Valerie will be here on Wednesday, and as well as Judge Clarkson and Stewart, so.
Thanks for being
All
with
right,
us.
thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 9. I will entertain a motion to consider authorizing budget amendment number 17.4 to increase the capital outlay budget for Central Dispatch 911, utilizing funds from their savings account to provide for costs related to new generation 911 software and building improvements, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
To make that motion.
We have a motion
Support.
and a support. On to discussion. Any comments about this question we have?
What's this for? I haven't read this part of the board packet, so.
We'll listen to it.
This is connected to last month's authorization for 911 to enter into a contract for renovations to the building. This is the funding piece of it, and that was accidentally left off the agenda last month.
Any other discussion?
Thank you for asking the question. I wanted to, I've just been asking a lot of questions.
All right, all in favor of agenda item number 9, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There are none Opposed, motion carries on to Wednesday. Agenda item number 10, I will entertain a motion to consider authorizing a payment of $21,309.50, representing 50% of the 2017 Shiawassee County PA2 of 1986 Cobo Hall Convention Facility tax received on April 28, 2017, requiring board approval to Midstate Health Network as required under the Public Act, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
I make the motion.
Support. And a support. This is kind of business as usual, I think. Is there any discussion?
I think we've already done one of those.
Once this
Like
year.
in January?
Quarterly.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, let's put it to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 11. I will entertain a motion to consider authorizing the renewal of MMRMA insurance coverage for the period of June 30th, 2017 through July 1st, 2018 at a cost of $381,742 even, to be paid from the budgeted line item number 101-954-910.000 and authorize board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Make that motion.
Support. Motion and a support. Questions on this one? Well, then we won't hesitate. We'll put it to vote. Agenda item number 11, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries to Wednesday. Agenda item number 12, I will entertain a motion to consider authorizing the contract with ADP for annual payroll, HR support, and management tools in the amount of $91,552.88 to be paid from 101-172-804.000 administration contracts, and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Make that motion.
We have a motion, support, and a support, and now we can open the floor. Representative from ADP.
Yes, sir. My name is Matt Kaminsky. We've been working with the county for some time now and understanding some of the goals the county has in regards to, one, really gaining visibility into all labor costs, making sure that we continue to grow. I know a lot of the cultural issues that have come up, making sure your employees have the best systems to really understand what's going on within the county, as well as understanding, hey, how much am I making, what is my time, all those instances, putting the right tools in place. And finally, making sure we completely mitigate exposure to the county completely. Given the current landscape, we've worked with a number of different businesses and municipalities, and really what we found is with the change of the compliance landscape, it's necessary for changes to happen internally as well. Now, unfortunately, that's out of all of our control, but with the ACA coming through, like it or don't like it, all of our clients have been dinged with the, hey, we've got to do this correctly or we will be fined. There's complete exposure out there to the tune of, call it $500 per W-2 if that goes wrong, and that's just one piece. We're also talking about making sure things like the FLSA are followed correctly, making sure all payments, all payroll is accurate so that no fines can come from that, so that we do not lose employees, and we're making sure the county is best able to serve its constituents. So those are the goals as we understood them going through the process. Again, from an exposure standpoint, putting the proper items in place will help us make sure benefits also aren't being overpaid, if that's one of your biggest expenses, as it is for just about anybody. We will put the systems in place to support that. Again, making sure you also have self-service items, so as employees of the county, you have access to your information as an individual contributor. How much am I making? What is my W-2 for the year? What is the benefits that I have through the county, so you can again support, here's what we're doing for you, here are the tools that we can provide, along with things like discounts on things like cell phones, options like that. But the reasons, again, that we want to do this is make sure you are not exposed. When we're looking at items like this with multiple different facets currently, the exposure rate becomes about $600 per employee on an annual basis. And as you know, with 218 employees, that alone is a pretty big number. The benefits piece, I know we were talking a lot about that, but the overarching concern there, those people admit to about a 3 to 6% error rate. So the Blue Crosses of the world are admitting that they make a mistake 3 to 6% of the time, and at a, I don't know your total number, but right around $1 million probably in expenditure, even if it's only 3%, that's an exposure nobody wants. And those errors come in the form of anything from, hey, somebody left on June 1st, but we paid them through June 30th. If those errors aren't caught, those numbers go out the door, right? Same thing can be said for the EEO information and again, processing the multiple systems. We want to help you reduce error, make sure everything's going in correctly, and make sure you're not open to any risk whatsoever. From a feature perspective, really it's a complete single sign-on solution, which means everything that happens in one area flows over all the other, which is unique to the marketplace in that there's no room for error in the back end either. So as you're doing things, ADP will be providing you with an audit trail of what's happening. So even, for example, if the IRS should show up in regards to ACA, you will have full proof of everything you've done correctly via the system, be able to report on it, and all of you will be able to have the visibility into your labor market to understand where things are happening and how. Beyond that, you'll have complete support from our people. So from a proactive standpoint, you will actually get people along with the system to say, hey, guess what? We don't know what's happening in ACA, ADP does. We're going to provide you what the next step is coming out from the government. When it comes to EEO reporting, we're going to be able to provide you proactively what needs to happen to make sure you're continually in line and again, not open to risk out in the marketplace. Same can be said for things like making sure job descriptions are up to date, so the DOL is not here, making sure things like handbooks are up to date, and making sure we get the whole process moving. Because in an environment specific to like the municipality, obviously, as there is turnover in other areas, a lot of times that knowledge actually goes with the individual. Our job is to come in and make sure we help you put the proper processes in place that are repeatable. Again, limiting that risk, that exposure that can be significantly high, as well as lower your costs by not having to put other individuals in place to monitor these. So that institutional knowledge will actually help provide and put the right processes in place for you. For those of you not really familiar with ADP, we've been really the market leader for over 65 years. We've been known as payroll for a good chunk of that time, but really we've been the market leader in human capital management for double-digit years. I know from a trust standpoint, it's a huge deal to understand something like this. Who is the best company? We process $1.7 trillion in taxes through the government, which is why they trust us for what we do. That's why they communicate with us first in regards to any changes that are coming out from legislation. It's also why, quite frankly, when you see unemployment numbers, all the job rates, everything else, they actually come from ADP data. So the powerhouse behind that is what would be working for the county, again, to support all of you and support your constituents. Beyond that, everything we do, we've got 1,500 people sitting in Washington making sure when things happen, we've got that information and we're providing it to you, again, proactively as opposed to reactively. And one of the most secure systems out there. And in regards, I know there's been some discussion today even in regards to access to things, but providing the technology that people need and getting them access is enormous. Our app, for example, just passed 10 million users. Doesn't mean everyone's going to use it, but they'll have the ability to really understand what's going on for them at any point in time. And then this model that we're presenting to provide all the other services it's growing at a 30% clip because, quite frankly, ADP was about 10 years ahead of the curve, knowing hey, the market's going to start shrinking for people that are able to do these things and have the knowledge and expertise to really make sure organizations are buttoned up. So we got ahead of the curve, made sure we put a model like this in place, and all that expertise will be available to all of you. Any questions?
Any questions for me?
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you for being with us this evening. I apologize in hindsight, we should have moved you to the top of the agenda.
That's okay. It's been very interesting.
I apologize for that in the future, but maybe try and make those adjustments where we can. Just a couple quick questions. Was this a competitive RFP you responded to, or is that what I understand?
Yep.
Yes, it was in your board packet.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't get to that. And then is Paychex is your competitor, presumably, right?
Yeah, one of them, yes.
One of them? Okay. And did we receive proposals from Paychex and others then? We did. Okay, I'll go back and refer to the materials. Thank you. And then this $91,000 fee, is that sort of an all-in, or is there sort of contingency beyond things that fall out of scope? How is that priced? Will there be a need by us, et cetera?
No, it's a good question. So that was an overarching number based on an employee count of 218 employees currently at the county. But everything ADP does is based on a per employee per month basis. So literally as employees go through our system, that's what's charged. So I heard throughout, we unfortunately had about 3 people leave in the last 3 weeks. Those would come off and the following month would actually be a lesser number. and that's how it flows
So
through.
it's sort of a ratio, you guys just apply that to the formula per head.
Correct, that's where we came up with an annualized number for you.
Are there any nearby counties that you're working in now, or someone similar size?
Yeah, we've got some municipalities that we actually did put in the, some of the references for you as
Okay.
well, and we've got a packet we'll leave with you as well.
All right, thank you. That's all my questions.
No question. The $91,000, has this been, whether it's Brandon or Patty, where does this money come from? We have this sitting there, is this gonna cause shortfalls elsewhere?
I've identified $50,000 in savings, and there's about $100,000 in unbudgeted revenues we've received this year that could be moved to fund this. So the funds have been identified, they will not cause an increase in overall costs. It won't increase the budget for the county for the year.
And one other thing that we also have to take into consideration is that this will cover some stop gaps that we have that we're really open to some big time liabilities here. I mean, we don't track PTO, there's a lot of things that we don't do that could leave us open to legal, that could cost us far more than $91,000, in the long run. So it really is an insurance policy for us to get into the 21st century.
And we do have the health department wanting to pitch in and help share in the cost, initial startup. And we're gonna reach out to some others to look at moving forward.
Does this free up current capacity from individuals performing these functions, or will it just be better at doing what we've been doing all along?
We'll be able to do things we're not currently able to do adequately. It will change the functions that the individuals are doing now, but it will give them reliable support in having the correct answers to questions, and it will automate things that we can't even do now.
Excellent. Thank you. For instance, one thing that I remember from when you're doing your presentation was it actually empowers our employees. They can go online and see, their pay, what it's going to be. That alone.
Electronic pay stubs
Yeah.
and, that
Yeah,
kind
and
of
if I
thing.
may add to that, just to give you an idea, so much of that information, again, we talk about maybe not having a great deal of access or understanding from a technology perspective. Again, we got to learn, so I heard you mentioning Facebook and what have you. As we're bringing this out, we will actually roll it out to your employees to make sure they understand where this information lives. But as we go through the process, they'll also have access to a number where they can call in the ADP directly. We will answer on Shiawassee's behalf the questions you wish us to, and walk them through how and where to find this information. Part of our job in this model is to make sure the utilization rates of the tool are what we promised from an ROI perspective. So we will continually teach your individuals how to fish, make sure they understand where the information they need and deserve to have is accessible to them, and they know how to get it.
Any other questions or comments about this? All right, let's put it to vote, see if we can move on to Wednesday. Agenda item number 12. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. None opposed, so motion carries to Wednesday. Thank you very much for your guys' time. And with that, we will move on to agenda item number 13, which is, I'll entertain a motion to consider approving resolution number 17-06-14 and authorize the board chair to sign all necessary documents.
Make that motion.
You have a motion? I'll support the motion so we can open up the discussion. Again, this is with that, if we were to go ahead with ADP, that frees up a lot of administrative duties of some individuals and, thank you. We would be moving, I think it's 2 employees from the clerk's office over to under our, is it the commission we're going to put on under?
Be under the administrative wing of the county.
You probably know more than
As
about this.
most counties do now. We reached out to MAC to kind of see, we didn't want to make sure that we were just doing something that's out of the norm. And we have all but, of the 84 counties, only 9 counties currently operate in the clerk's office anyways. All of them are operating under the county administrator, the county commissioners, the county controller, or the county executive. Those are the ones that I have a list here of all the counties that Max sent us, but we just wanted to look at that and to bringing them over here, having them under Patty. Patty would be she is the budget director, the budget controller currently. This gives her direct access to 2 employees that are handling accounts payable, payroll, has that ability to walk through the hallway right to them. They have the ability to work directly with her. So this is just strictly something that makes it easier for the Board of Commissioners. It makes it easier for Patty herself to do her job, to better watch the budget, to better be that controller for us, our safeguard, our someone that's keeping an eye on our interests, because we're not here all the time, we're not here every day. So I just think it's something that's necessary right now, and it's something that, speaking to a few commissioners from the past commissioner in my area, commissioner here in Corona, and then another one out in the Perry area, this is something that had been talked about as far as 20 years ago doing, and then as late as 10 years ago doing. So this is something that I think the Board of Commissioners have always been looking to, but I think we did kind of go on that dry spell where this was probably something that people probably said, nah, I can't really do that. Do we want to keep, a deputy on, or do we want, and I think now the county's getting a little healthier, and this is just probably something it's important to do. And it'll save us far more in the long run than to not act now. So I just think it's just part of that evolving and growing and moving. And that's all.
So just so I'm clear, the resolution supports shifting the current function out of the clerk's office, bring it under finance director?
Yes. And into the administrative offices of the county.
So
Just 2. There'll be 2 individuals that handle accounts payable and payroll currently. We needed the 2 because the 2 can't or shouldn't do each other's job. One person shouldn't be doing both jobs. It kind of need that checks and balances between the 2 of them. So that was the reason for the 2 employees. And both employees are very supportive and want the move and are looking forward to the move.
Is it safe to assume the clerk has been involved in these conversations and helping with a smooth transition?
We briefly talked to the clerk. I think she's opposed to it.
Let me know when I can talk.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from our clerk on what level she's been engaged in any
Brandon, do I have?
Yeah, we'll
challenges that we might anticipate from your vantage.
Wow. We've had conversations with employees unbeknownst to me, and I don't find that very professional.
Okay, all right, you know what? Actually, we're not gonna go ahead with Todd. We're gonna keep it professional here,
No,
so.
I think I just asked a question. I kind of wanted to hear, we heard from the commission chair, it's a function being taken out of the clerk's office. I was just curious what level she was engaged and better understand that. So can we hear from our clerk?
No, we're gonna go ahead and, is there any other discussion?
Well, I'd like to be able to support this.
Well,
And
we're not gonna be able to keep it professional on the floor.
I think she was just responding to my question. I didn't see it as unprofessional.
All right, go ahead. Let's just keep it professional, not call things.
Was I doing anything like that? I said I found it to be unprofessional. I'm on the job 6 months. This is the 5th time. 5th. Okay, now the room is pretty clear.
Would you answer his question?
I
We're
will
done
answer your
talking.
question.
I want a direct answer to his question. We're done
Briefly.
talking.
I was briefly.
Go ahead.
I'm answering the question.
Please.
He's asking, I'm briefly.
And do you anticipate some challenges, or from where you sit, why do you think this occurred? Or I'm just trying to understand the ground that's been covered and where we're moving to.
I have really no idea because questions prior to this have been asked as far as what departments would be affected, what offices, there was just, when I was informed of things, it was at such a preliminary level. And then there were vendors that were brought in too. I understood there was supposed to be a 3rd. I was involved in a 2nd presentation from one of the vendors. Was told we would be informed when anything was going to be going forward. That has not happened. And the health department is unaware that ADP was selected. So there's just been a lot of lines of communication that have not taken place. And here we are.
I've spoke with Larry Johnson throughout this process. He's been involved too. He came to the vendors' presentations as well. He is 100% on board and knows about it and has known about it. and spoke with me and stated that Tony, their budget director, though she kind of liked paychecks, maybe the presentation and the setup of the program, the overall look of the program, she thought looked a little bit better, the cosmetics of it. But she thought, for a standpoint as far as paychecks is kind of in that 100 or less employees category, where ADP kind of services the 100 and above, and I think she kind of understood that. So I don't know where that.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about the vendor selection.
No, I'm just saying,
That's
she said the health department wasn't not in favor of that and was supportive of paychecks, but that's not the case, and I've had a lot of conversations with Larry, who's the director over there, so.
Okay, let me just ask this question. Does this switch impact the ability of you to perform the functions of the clerk's office?
What do you mean,
Well, it currently falls under your jurisdiction or purview in the clerk's office, this function. By moving it, does it affect your ability to do the charge, to you to perform the duties that you're supposed to be doing? Statutory responsibilities that you do
No,
as
not
clerk?
necessarily.
Okay.
It's always
So
been a checks and balance for the county.
it's more about, well, it sounds like the process that was used didn't seem like there was some communication challenges, but from a functional standpoint, it doesn't affect your job. Is that fair?
It's statutorily what I'm responsible for.
This function is part of,
Every county runs different depending on the caliber of people that it has. Some clerks have that responsibility, other clerks do not.
okay.
That goes back to the list of
To follow up
only
on that,
9
then,
counties
you're gonna be
have
down
the county
to,
clerk run that function. Just
Okay.
for, and I'm sure that's because of growing
I don't know.
changes in compliance reasons, as the vendor stated. I think that's probably why it's changed out to more, we are gonna have former clerks doing this, which I can't speak for these counties. These counties could have, they could have HR specialists in there, they could have payroll, they could have, I don't know what they have, I just know that, they've taken it out and it's only 9 counties that continue to remain. So this isn't like we're just pulling something out of the hat here. And as far as statutory duties, the 73 other counties are violating the clerk's statutory duties, so.
why was Larry Johnson brought in? Is it because of the large number of employees in his?
Yes, he was brought in and he was actually, the health department was the original spearhead behind the program. They had attempted it a year or 2 ago, and it was shot down by our past administration. And I know their budget director has had some concerns with just the way it was done. It has nothing to do with Caroline. This was far before Caroline. She just had some concerns with the way things were being sent over, the way some reporting was coming back to them, and they thought just the way they were doing it was kind of clunky, and the system was old and outdated. So this budget director has had concerns for years, regardless of who our clerk is. She just was kind of curious on that. So they did try to attempt it. It was shot down by the previous clerk, who said it wasn't ever going to happen, so drop it. So when we did approach it again, we knew they were going to have the largest number of employees, so we wanted them involved. They also have the, I guess I shouldn't say the largest number of employees, the sheriff's office is the largest, but they have the willingness to pay. They're going to be pitching in, and they approached us with the idea that we'll help pay. We have the money in our budget, and as far as we could get the county on something that's more up to date, more abiding by new compliance, and just kind of moving us forward, they'd be willing and on board to help, with any costs that we could accrue. And that was just a big step for the county. The county kind of needs that help. I think we need, we're making technology upgrades as we move along. Look at our phones, look at, everything that we're doing. So this was just something that having the opportunity to partner with the health department was huge for us. So that's why they were involved as in-depth as they were.
And how big is the health department employee-wise?
I believe they're over 40 employees.
And what's their total to what?
218.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
It makes a difference whether the 2 employees are, whether they're there or here, it's gonna change that much. I mean, I get that, to me, it's, you're gonna write checks whether they're there or here. I'm just from the old school, so.
Yeah. Well, just here bringing it over here gives Patty more of a direct ability
Or she
to.
step on
Yeah.
keep
Yeah,
monitoring.
no, just to monitor the
I mean,
budget.
I don't know.
To monitor the budget, to look over things, to have
Crazy.
that better oversight of things. It might be a little easier for the finance chair to come in and look over things, invoice edit reports, bills, anything that they might need to do. It just gives everyone, the main function of this board is the budget and the money of this county, regardless of what elected official it goes to or what department it goes to. This board here, our duties are to watch the budget, watch the money, and oversee what comes in and what goes out. And I mean, as I stated, 73 other counties are already way ahead of us on this, so we're just kind of getting up to speed with everyone else, and it's probably about time.
Any other comments, questions that we may have on this? I think it's important, given the exchange we had, to iterate that this is not punitive against Caroline or that she's done anything wrong in any sort of way. It's just kind of come up since we're now partnering up with ADP potentially, that this could free up, some ability to keep a little bit more control over payroll here in the administrative offices. So I did want to make it very clear that that was not anything to do with Caroline in any way. So, any other discussion? In that case, let's put it to vote, see if it goes on to Wednesday. Agenda item number 13. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, then the motion carries on to Wednesday. We will now move on to other agenda items. Does anyone have anything to add to this very long meeting that we have had today?
No, as I mentioned to Matt, I mean, in the future, if we have individuals, if we might be cognizant of that, and if there's a way we could, motion early on and bring them up at the beginning of the agenda, let's try and do that.
Yeah, it's fair.
And then, actually, I did have just one final question. Again, I've asked it before with the lack of policy and procedures. As chair of the Economic and Physical Development Committee, I get the agendas, and I never get a chance to review them and approve the items that go on or don't go on. So I still struggle with my authority as a board chair on what goes on the agenda and what doesn't. So I feel more like a rubber stamp. And so that's why I ask a lot of questions, because I feel I should be informed and know about these things that appear before my committee. And so I just wonder, is there any way to get a look and better understand the agenda before it's final, then it comes to my inbox and have a conversation about the items? Or we're just doing it the way we've always done it?
I think constant contact with Patty and the board chairman, that's what I do personally when I run this meeting. I make sure I'm always questioning what's this, before it goes on the agenda. That's what I do. Everyone else does.
Patty, myself, and Kaylee are usually the ones that see, mainly Patty and Kaylee are the ones that see the agenda items.
Okay.
They set up the agendas every month.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Feel free to come in that week before meetings, and the agendas, all items are due by Wednesday at either noon or 5 o'clock. And
they go out on Friday.
Well, but the department heads have to have things due by Wednesday.
Right.
And then they prepare. So really, you have that Thursday, Friday, you have all of that week before. I mean, it's all up to you, whatever you want to call in and talk about, or add to, or take.
No, I just wondered before they get sent out as final, if I could get a draft agenda, and then rather than having to redo the agenda because something changes or I have comments on something. That was all. That was my only question.
Yeah, just call up here anytime. Don't send you what you got. They'll say your
The
agenda items.
problem is, you get a draft agenda Tuesday. Much stuff coming in on Wednesday. Or even if you get your draft agenda Thursday, that only gives you a day then to review stuff, because then it goes out on Friday. So what I do is as soon as that shows up in my email, on my phone, I go in and I look at my committee, see if there's anything on there that.
Right then and there. Okay. All right. That's helpful. Just parliamentary procedure, the chair usually approves an agenda before it's filed and distributed. That's my point. So I'm just trying to work towards that.
Can I just say that it's not our policy to exclude anything that people want to put on the agenda. So it's not being pre-edited for you. If you want to remove something, then you need to let us know.
Yeah, and I was just suggesting the only way to do that is to see it as a draft before it goes out to all the commissioners.
The problem is normally that things
The timing, yeah.
dribble in.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And you may get a perfectly valid draft and an hour later, there's an emergency, and something's gotta be added to it, and your draft is no longer good.
Those happen.
So let me just take this offline and we can talk internally about the process then. All right, thank you. That's fine.
Anything else? All right, then at this time we'll do our final call to the public. Is there anyone that wants to say anything before closing? All right. In that case, meeting's adjourned.